The backstory in this episode is the launch of what is the new project funded by Ministry of Environment and Forests, which I call River Metamorphosis due to human intervention, an example from the Nayar Basin. Well, by the end of April 83, the syndicate made a decision vesting the authority, financial as well as administrative, of the project on the principal investigator concerned. And orders thereof were issued by the first week of May. And once I got the orders, I just prepared a press release seeking to invite applications from qualified candidates to fill up the various research posts in the project. I had one geologist, one geographer, one technical assistant chemistry, one technical assistant geology, and a draftsman cum surveyor in the project. That was the staff complement. Well, there was a very good response from based on the press release, which was carried in the leading newspapers published from Trivandrum, as well as in the All India Radio. They had told under Tozhil Varta to the listening audience about the positions available on a research project run or implemented through the Department of Geology of the University of Kerala. And then there was also a very interesting backstory about some kind of a standoff, I would say, between the HOD and Mr. Krishnath. Mr. Krishnath, I told earlier, had also backed a project support from the Ministry of Environment and Forests. Krishnath had all along been arguing that he needs one room for himself to sit, as well as for the project staff. Well, of course, for some time this argument or this kind of debate was going on, and I did not say I needed one room for myself and my project staff. Instead, I told, in order to solve that Gordian knot, I told, that's all right if I am given the space where I sit. Now I will accommodate all the research staff in my available space. And I don't need any extra room or a special room by itself to accommodate the project staff and activities. So, that was a kind of, very cleverly solved because, when I made this suggestion, the path was clear for the department council to say, yes, Krishnath, you get a room, whatever. So that is how that issue was solved. Then, of course, once the applications came in, alongside, I had myself sat down and ranked or tabulated all the applicants. The most troubling set of application I got was for the position of the draftsman surveyor, because the minimum qualification is what is called a IIT certificate for a draftsman, or what is called that is one of the alternatively you can have a qualification like a civil engineering diploma from a polytechnic. If you had an IT certification, you needed, according to my specification, a desirable qualification of some kind of at least 1 year experience in the line of work. So I had something like 60 applicants. So it was a hell of a difficult task to do that final selection. But what I did? I contacted the executive engineer in the Karyavatam administrative wing, and requested him that he may screen the candidate through a written test and followed by oral examination, and let him. Then I suggested I will sit in that process, but I will not be an expert or anything in the selection process. And he can select the persons, at least 3 names ranked for that job, in order to make sure that if one fellow doesn't accept, I will have second one or the third one in the list, as the case may be. So that was agreed. So on that basis, I had set up. Krishnanand also followed the same thing, because when it came to the staffing, Krishnanand, shouldn't say I copied Krishnanand, Krishnanand copied me in the staffing process, but somehow it coincided. So Krishnanand also suggested that is a good idea, and he too had made a request to the executive engineer to make the selection process and select a list of 3 people. Anyway, then the other part was, that is the selection of the technical assistant in geology, technical assistant chemistry, and research fellow, geology and geography. That was actually my concern, my outlook. I took over it, and I had gotten everything done. In fact, I made Dr. Prema, the chemist of the department, to make the tabulation of the tabulated list of applicants from all the applications received. We had something like 12 or 13 candidates appearing with a MSc degree in chemistry, seeking a position in the projects. Whereas as far as geology is concerned, we had the qualification was only BSc, yet unlike in chemistry, we did not have any MSc seeking that slot. So that was also limited to 10 or 12 people. Whereas when it came to the research assistant, research fellows, the total was somewhere around 15, and something like 7 or 8 in geology, and the remainder in the field of geography. All were MSc second class and not PhDs or whatever. So the selection process is through an interview. So I had to, the interview board will be presided over by the Dean of Science, Faculty of Science, I should say, and the principal investigator and a subject expert. That is the constitution. It was not actually prescribed by the university's rule, university's new set of rules. These are the things I myself identified and selected. I I used my own what is called vision in order to make the selection board, constitutional selection board. Then I had to get Professor P.A. Krupp, who was the Dean of Science then, his availability in order to fix a date for interview. I went over to Professor Krupp in Palayam campus. Those days, Professor Krupp was a founder professor of biochemistry department in the University of Kerala. And, after chatting about a minute or 5 minutes, because, those days Indian Express had run a syndicated column on the research output and how it is useful to the humans in general, was printed in the Indian Express once a week. So I was talking about the advantage of black gram to the heart health, as well as similar stuff Professor Kurupu had done. So he naturally felt very elated, and he gave a long explanation to the advantage of black gram. It is actually a work that was acclaimed all over not all over the world in the field of science, biochemistry. And it is actually the skin, the black skin of the black gram, that is the big player. And it was actually, according to Kurupasar, given to patients who were undergoing consultation or treatment with a doctor in Thrivikramji. I'm not getting the name, but this gentleman is a brother of the professor of chemistry, Professor Anandaraman. and several people had their cholesterol number coming down very sharply, distinctly after X number of months of treating or swallowing the pill, which came out of the black ram skin. So Professor Kurup enjoyed explaining this to me, and that was during the lunch break, and no, not lunch break, in the evening when I met him. And then we fixed a date, and I parted with Kurup sir, and then went home. Next day onwards, my job was to send, what is called the invitation letter to candidates who have applied for these positions of technical assistant and as well as research fellow. And it is not a slow process, but I was devoting full attention to it. I took about 3 days to finalize the dispatch of all these letters. Then one thing else between the later interview and that point of sending out letters, I did was I went to the, I had some 10,000 rupees for the purchase of furniture, or that is very essential for the laboratory or the drafting laboratory. So I went and met what is called the secretary of the Ex-Service Men's Cooperative Society in Trivandrum near the Basket Hotel. And this gentleman is a retired army official. And I expressed, this is what I wanted. And he said, no problem. Only thing is I had to give some kind of a drawing of what is called the glass table. Well, the glass table is actually very large. In other words, 4 people can work, minimum 4. No, 2 people, because so that gave but those days, there is no mechanism, no readily available, ready-made translucent glass available in the market. So this gentleman said that we will buy a sheet glass, ordinary plain glass, and then grind or make it one side of the glass sheet rough, make it translucent. This they have been doing for a while, so they know how to do it. The next thing was a map reading table, which was actually a large dining table, like sort of thing. Well, these 2 pieces are still in the Karivattan department. The large dining table thing is still in the library, and of course nobody uses what is called the glass table anymore, because there are other ways of copying maps or multiplicating the maps or whatever. So still they are there. Then I went over to what is called the Coder and Company in MG Road at Trivandrum. That building and that space is not there. It is now occupied by some other business house. Anyway, Coder is the sole dealer of Godrej furniture in the city. And there is an advantage about the Godrej furniture. Godrej has been recognized by the DGSD of Government of India. DGSD, and in other words, there is a DGSD accepted rate contract for various furniture pieces retailed by the Godrej and Company. DGSD, Director General of Supplies and Disposal. That is for the expansions of DGSD. And I wanted to buy a bookcase made by Godrej, not 1, 2, and then a card file. What a card file is. That is also no more around, and it is used in the libraries. For every book, there will be 2 cards, one alphabetic and one what is called a subject index. So the index cards, 3x5 cards, can be stored in it safely. I wanted to buy a 4-drawer card file cabinet by Godrej, because Godrej alone was making that thing for the Indian consumer. And these things also were not very expensive. The glass panel, almara, and the whatever card file cabinet both came under only 4,000 rupees, whereas the other rupees of wooden furniture were something like 4,000 rupees. Still, there is a saving of unspent balance of what is called out of 10,000. It's like 2,000 rupees anyway. So these things, the Godrej furniture, which is ready-made, and it came back to me within 15 or 21 days, because one piece, that is the card file cabinet, that has to wait. They have to source it from some other brand or some other retailer or Godrej, whereas the ex-servicemen's cooperative society, they created it. It is actually all takeout and a fabulous piece, absolutely no doubt. And then the interview, on the week of interview, I was there, and then the committee met, and I had I think Rajendran sir is the subject expert for the morning session or in the forenoon session, where geology and geography candidates were to be interviewed. And after the interviewing of that, Rajendra sir went to Thrivikramji or whatever, and before the interview actually started, one of the things we do is we will send a sheet of white paper, and in which we will get all the names of the candidates written down, so that we will have a picture in advance how many have actually in the venue of the interview. And of course the venue is nothing and no place else than the Professor Kurup's office and in the biochemistry department. And the interview went very smooth, because we are only out of the 16 candidates, I had invited only 12 or 11 appeared, and 4 or 5 in geography and 6 or so in geology. And based on my request, there was a list of 3 candidates, suitable candidates, ranked by the committee, and that was finalized. Then we broke for lunch. In the afternoon, it was the turn of after lunch, it was our turn to interview the technical assistant. And we are recruited one Ganeshan, a BSc geology guy who had completed BSc geology degree through the University College Trivandrum, and another girl in chemistry who possessed already an MSc degree, Reena Ravindran. And there was no problem in selecting this, because and also definitely there was again 3 names listed based on the merit. And by around 4 or 4:30, the interview session is over. I had the full complement of the staff, in the sense, identified and ranked. In the next following week, that is, I think, the second week or so of second or third week, the executive engineer Thrivikram had done his work. I sat through the interview process, and he also turned in 3 names. And by that, once I got all these names, and I mailed appointment order. There is a style for appointment order, and that style also I created. The most key statement is, a job in this project does not give any kind of a claim for any in future for any job in the University of Kerala. That's all. In other words, when they appear for a job in the University of Kerala, they can say they have this experience, but depending upon their suitability for the positions, they will be accepted or rejected by the university anyway. And then I had once all this was done, I wanted to run a field visit. And of course, the field visit is the most important part, because I wanted to get my staff be familiar with what the project area is like. And my plan was to have a river walk, right from a river shore walk, I should say, right from the downstream of the dam in Kallikad all the way down to Pooar. It took about 5 days. In the first day was being the beginning, first day being the first day itself was a slow work. And the rest of the days was we were able to manage, our river walk. What is the river walk actually? It is actually looking, seeing, and learning and thinking. That is the process I envisioned. It happened after the the monsoon, in the peak of the monsoon. That year, in June, third week, we did the walk. Because, unless you feel the real natural setting, and unless you see the real natural setting in advance, it will be very difficult to be part of this project. For some reason, that was my theory. So it was very successfully done. And Mr. Binu Kumar, then he was either in the university college or looking for a job. He also participated in this river shore walk in the Neya River. And after the second day, he just disappeared because, probably it is very hard work. It is a hard labor on your knees and feet. Remember, this you have to keep in mind. Walking, it is a cross-country walk actually. So that is how the project was launched from the Department of Geology in the University of Kerala at the Karyavattam campus. Okay, then another episode will cover another aspect of the project.